Namaskaram, good morning, and welcome to Vishwa Talks. My name is Radhika. Thank you all for attending today's Vishwa Talk. For those of you who attended a Vishwa Talk before, a warm welcome back. And for those of you who are joining us for the first time, here's a little bit about Vishwa. Vishwa Talks is a program to create awareness and to inspire people to participate in social change. Here, we invite experts to discuss and explore diverse opinions, different perspectives, issues, problems, and the solutions. Along with Vishwa Talks, we provide free computer training to underprivileged kids, and we are aiming June. Vishwa also conducts Annadanam campaigns every Friday, and so far we have offered food to over 6,000 people near hospitals. So each webinar is an interactive session with a deeper understanding of the topic at hand. And if you miss any part of the session, if you would like to go through the previous sessions, you can visit our Vishwa Talks YouTube channel for more interesting topics. Today, let me introduce our keynote speaker, Ms. Rupika Chawla, who is a distinguished conservator of paintings and she is based in Delhi. She is renowned for her work on several Ravi Varma masterpieces. She has played a crucial role in art preservation and training in conservation. In 1993, alongside artist A. Ramachandran, Ms. Rupika Chawla has organized a seminar exhibition on Ravi Varma at National Museum, New Delhi. She is also author of Surface and Depth, Indian Artist and at Work, and A. Ramachandran, Art of Muralist, and Icons of Raw Earth. And her recent book, Raja Ravi Varma, Painter of Colonial India. She has written extensively on contemporary art and maintained a column in the Indian Express from 2001 to 2004. And before we get started to today's session, I would like to inform the audience that our speaker, Ms. Chawla, will be taking your questions after the main talk. So please leave your questions in the chat box and we will ask your questions after the main talk. So without further ado, let us give a warm welcome to our speaker as she shares her invaluable insights with us. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Radhika. But if I might say, Radhika, I'm a much married woman, so I'm Mrs. Chawla, not Miss Chawla.
Yeah.
Thank you. A very good morning to all of you listening to this Zoom talk on Ravi Varma, on the topic that appears on the screen and on which we will start straight away. We often read a book, view a work of art, or listen to a piece of music without considering how greatly the artist or writer concerned is connected to his immediate environment or the larger one that exists outside the home environment where he lives. And most importantly, the talent, emotions, and temperament that are the essence of that artist and hence make him what he is or who he is. Ravi Varma, of course, was no exception. What was even more noteworthy was that he was born at a time when the first wave of technological advances swept over colonial India. His temperament being what it was, he took full advantage of all the inventions that were appearing thick and fast around him. They opened his mental horizon in many ways, leading him into high creativity and perpetual discovery. Paradoxically, his aristocratic childhood environment was a traditional one, bound by several rules and regulations and dominated by the Nambudri Brahmins, who controlled these Kshatriyas with an iron fist. But what his milieu provided him and every other child of the aristocracy was an education in Malayalam and Sanskrit and a deep knowledge of the Puranas, the Mahabharata, the Ramayana. The influence of his childhood education became part of his being, and the reason why his mythological paintings shone with a detailed understanding of various narratives. This was unique to him, actually, as even his own brother and constant companion, C. Raja Varma, could not manage the kind of vision and understanding of a particular narrative that Ravi Varma could. Next, please. Next image, please. Here is Ravi Varma. On the left, he is at home in his traditional mundu and veshti, and to the right, dressed in the smart stitched clothes that came into his life when he visited Bombay as often as he did. He spent a lot of time in Bombay, actually. These Western clothes were never worn in Travancore because Travancore was not the place to wear Western clothes. And these were reserved entirely for the outer world that he traveled in. But actually, these two photographs symbolize the constant interconnection between the tradition and the modern that continued in his being throughout his life. Next, please. He was born in the large estate of Kilimanur, which is near Thiruvananthapuram. It looks quite shabby now, and it is, well, it is what it is now. And those of his descendants living here have profited as much as they possibly could by selling every bit and bob of what they could find that belonged to Ravi Varma. So Kilimanur is in a bit of a decline now. But during the time of Ravi Varma, this was a very affluent place, teeming with life and activity. Images of that time, certain flashes of what there was around him in this huge estate, they appeared in his paintings, charming paintings. So there are women who played the veena, not just women, women and men who played the veena. Next, please. Painted, sang, and the women who wound flowers around their hair. Next, please. No, we missed one. Oh, yes, please. Okay, sorry. Carry on. I'm just showing you a close-up to just show you how beautifully the face is painted. Next, please. So women, playing with and putting flowers in their hair. Next, please. And here was this woman who, a visitor to Kilimanur, who didn't quite know which bathing place was for women and which one was for men. So she landed up at the bathing site for men and got horribly embarrassed when she was caught over there. And this is painted by Ravi Varma. Ravi Varma was closely related to the Travancore royal family, and during his teens spent some years at the royal courts at Thiruvananthapuram. Over there, he observed several artists at work, and being naturally gifted, acquired a mastery over oil on canvas paintings. In later life, Ravi Varma was to take advantage of exclusive artists' materials sold in Bombay. Next, please. We are back to the same painting, but this painting is important because when he was in Bombay, he used to buy his paints at Thacker and Thacker Spink and Company, where the paints used to come from England. The British used to bring paints for their, up for their Sunday painters. And of course, they were sold at the shops. And Ravi Varma bought these paints over there. Incidentally, one of the subscribers to the painting materials was the JJ School of Arts. So I want to show you, which you can see in the detail here, are all the materials. There's a palette knife, there's a varnish bottle, the brushes, the palette. And this painting is made by Ravi Varma's son, and it proudly displays the materials of painting, this was a very important thing at that time. We take many things for granted now that were very special at that time. But now to go back to the Travancore court, I digressed a bit. Now we go back to the Travancore court. There was a second-class painter from Europe, Theodor Jensen, who has been given the honor by certain historians as being Ravi Varma's teacher. But that's not really the case. Next, please. Now that's a painting by Theodor Jensen. And you can see the quality is very different from what Ravi Varma did. The quality and the brushstrokes, everything, Ravi Varma is far superior to Theodor Jensen, who was not quite able to even get the Indian physiognomy correctly. But while Ravi Varma was at court, this very ambitious young man was quick to pick up as one of his benefactors the powerful Diwan of Travancore, Seetha Madhav Rao. Next, please. That's Seetha Madhav Rao in later life, painted by Ravi Varma and commissioned by Lord Curzon. This hangs in the Victoria Memorial in Calcutta. Madhav Rao was the first person to open up the larger world to the very cloistered Ravi Varma, who would by now have been straining to break away and breathe new air, his youthful genius seeking release. Madhav Rao was later transferred as Diwan to Baroda state, just before the coronation of Sayaji III of Baroda. He bought from Ravi Varma, next please, this painting, Seetha Bhumi Pravesh, as a wedding gift for Madhav Rao. We can discuss this painting if we have time later on, but for the time being, we just pass on. With Madhav Rao buying, no, not yet, with Madhav Rao buying this painting, Ravi Varma got the courage to beg Madhav Rao for an invitation to witness the wedding and the investiture of Sayaji Rao. He begged him. So Madhav Rao agreed. It was to be a real eye popper for Ravi Varma when he finally got there. He had never previously witnessed fancy dress parties, horse races, and the very popular Nautch girls that would have shocked his people at home. Next, please. Now, he made this watercolor later on. And in the background here, Radha and Krishna. But interestingly, at the back are two of the Nautch girls that he saw at Baroda in the typical pose that is actually in a photograph that hangs in Baroda Palace. Now, he reached Baroda, but how did he get to Baroda? Next, please. He lived in a very isolated part of the country, literally the very tip of India, at a great distance from Baroda. In the detail, I mean, this is the map of Kerala, and Trivandrum is way down there, which you see in the detail underlined in red. The blue that you see in the map are the waterways of Kerala. So it's a very long way. The railways during his time stopped in what is now Tamil Nadu. So that's a very long way he made through the waterways and into Tamil Nadu, where the railways started. But, you know, so he made these journeys slowly, first getting to Madras, and on later years, he went on to Baroda. The aristocrats of Kerala, dominated, as I said, by the Brahmins, they were not even allowed to cross the seas because I think the Brahmins were afraid that these aristocrats, the Kshatriyas, would be exposed to to the open world, and therefore the Brahmins would lose control over them. So they were banned from crossing the seas. And even Ravi Varma, for all his very adventurous spirit, never took the chance, and he never crossed the seas. But what happened that Ravi Varma was able to get to Baroda? The railways were being developed and became Ravi Varma's means of escape. Railways were an all-India venture started by the British for their own convenience. They required this rapid form of transport to travel back and forth and to carry their troops and other goods over the large expanse of India. Before Ravi Varma could be stopped, he was off to Madras on the southern line, and by 1881, he was on his way to Baroda for the investiture and the grand wedding for which he had begged an invitation. Next, please. Next, yeah. These are two drawings that Ravi Varma made waiting at various railway stations. They're very charming. Here's, the woman quarreling with the coolie. And so these are at drawings made at railway stations. Railways brought many other changes in their wake. Trains made it possible for urgent dispatches, documents, and letters to reach the British in good time. The postal and telegraph system appeared on the scene to be immediately adapted into the lifestyle of upper class Indians as well. Such a phenomenon was naturally to appear in Ravi Varma's paintings, details which we often miss or take for granted. We don't see how these changes came into his paintings. Next, please. Look at that. Here is a woman reading a letter. When we see such a painting, you'll see the woman, you won't see the letter. But sure, there is a letter in her hand, which shows it's a big thing. And Ravi Varma had to use it because receiving a letter was unusual in those times. Next, please. Another one of a woman holding a letter. Next, please. And here is this languid beauty who's reading a book. Now, these paintings also show us that there was literacy with the upper class women. And of course, some of them during this period who became famous lawyers and doctors and activists. So there was also this kind of change coming at that time. It was a lifestyle of the British that brought many changes, which were observed by Ravi Varma with a keen eye. At the investiture of Sayaji III, there were actually experiments made by the Indian Electric Light Company with lights. They offered globes and bulbs for electric lights, and which were going to be lit by the energy of a steam engine. So, that was how electricity was happening at that time. These were early days. But a few years later, next please, at the Dussehra celebrations in Mysore, and the Dussehra celebrations in Mysore are very important. The Darbar Hall was lit up by electricity, by electric lights, which the Maharaja of Mysore, he was one of the first to work on electricity in the country. So this was lit up. We would never get a chance to see the Darbar Hall in the Mysore Palace looking like this if it was not for Ravi Varma's painting. Of course, now it just looks ordinary, but this is a fabulous painting showing the way it did. Something else was happening, and that was the German kerosene lamp that arrived, first of all, in Bombay. Kerosene oil was imported from America and Russia and arrived by sea to the busy harbor at Bombay, from where it was distributed for domestic use where needed. Such a development certainly did not escape Ravi Varma's eye. Of course, it was used by him at home and was depicted in his paintings as another wonder of the late 19th century. Next, please. There's the kerosene lamp, and there's a drawing he made before that. Next, please. This is a very interesting painting, but of course, as I said, most people will pass it by because it's dull, it's got two men, there are none of those beautiful women there, no jewelry. I mean, the way we really look at Ravi Varma's paintings with all the glamour, it's not mythology. But here is a man reading a newspaper, which is, first of all, a new thing. And the detail that you see, this lamp that is behind the fan there, this is called a pankha lamp. If you look above the line, that's the pankha that was manually stirred in earlier times. And the lamp is under that. And to see that the light, the glow of the light doesn't get extinguished, this little top was put on top of the lamp, and it had holes in it to let out the light, so that there was light emanating from there, but the glow was not going because of the protection provided. So this was the pankha lamp of that time. Now, the man is reading a newspaper, and that was very rare in those days. In fact, one person got a newspaper and then it passed on until that newspaper was tatters, and it took many days for it to be read wherever it was. But of course, Ravi Varma got his daily newspaper. He was able to afford that with his morning cup of coffee. And coffee was a rare thing in those days too, but he got his morning cup of coffee. Next, please. In 1906, Ravi Varma's obituary would be flashed across the Hindu and the Times of India newspapers. Such was the degree of progress made by newspapers at that time. And even more interesting, in 1937, next please, was flashed by the Hindu photographs of the entire royal family of Travancore. So there were photographs now coming in. I'd like you to see the top right is the junior Rani. The lower left is the senior Rani. Now, it's a very complicated it's a very complicated thing, but these two, the junior and the senior Rani, were Ravi Varma's granddaughters, and they were adopted into the royal family, and they became the junior and senior Rani. Now the junior Rani had her children. So the king on the left, this is gone blank. He became the king, Sri Chitra, her son, and that is her daughter and the younger son. So she became the actual regent because her son became the king. So that's the king and her daughter and the third son, who died just a few years ago. So photography had come into newspapers at that time as well. Naturally, because photography was an integral part of print media, and it appeared because of the newspapers. And it's a different thing what great use Raja Deen Dayal, who was also a friend of Ravi Varma, what great use Raja Deen Dayal made of photographs. That is another thing altogether, his photography. Now, Ravi Varma required the aid of photographs for his work in order to help finish a painting. Now, he couldn't ask a sitter to keep on, especially if it was a Maharaja or someone. They couldn't sit all the time while he was painting. So it was very important. Photographs became very important. He would perhaps take a preliminary sitting with the Maharaja or the Maharani or some other important person, and then finish the painting with a photograph. Now look at this example. Next, please. This is an extraordinary example. It's a very sad one, actually. This is the Raja and Rani of Kurupam. When the Raja of Kurupam asked Ravi Varma to make this painting, he commissioned him, the Rani had already died. And he was a very grief-stricken young man. What he gave to Ravi Varma were her photographs and showed him her clothes and jewelry, and it is with the help of the photographs that Ravi Varma was able to integrate the Rani of Kurupam into this painting. Now, who would think of it that this was possible? Now, next, please. This is Krishna Raja Vadya of Mysore. Now, he couldn't possibly ask Krishna Raja Vadya, this is an example, to endlessly come and sit for his portrait. So he had to make do with, of course, a photograph of Krishna Raja Vadya to finish the painting. But while he was in Mysore making all these paintings, he did take advantage. He did some begging, and he asked the secretary of the Maharaja whether he could possibly have a ride in the newly imported motor car that had just arrived in Mysore in honor of the visit of the Prince of Wales. Well, he managed to get that ride. He must have been absolutely thrilled in it about that. Next, please. And he's made this painting of the motor car, and it shows the two kings, the Prince of Wales and the Maharaja of Mysore, sitting in it while going. It's an incomplete painting. Ravi Varma never had the time to actually finish this painting because he thought he would go back and complete it, but he went back to Kerala, and he died there 2-3 months later. So this is an incomplete painting, and it shows the two. They are off to a hunt. So this was the Kheda camp, And so the two kings went there in this car. Now the railways naturally took Ravi Varma to Bombay, a city he loved to be in, with its liberal attitude and with people who had a modern outlook on life. Here he chanced upon cheap German prints of semi-nude women, which did not take his fancy, but the medium of chromolithography that produced them fascinated him. He wanted to get his paintings reproduced in a similar manner, and he wanted the best quality. Now he sends an agent all the way to Germany to look for a trained chromolithographer. Chromolithography is also used for oleographs. So you can, chromo is, suggesting many colors. And the oleograph is that. So his agent found a trained chromolithographer, Fritz Schleicher, who arrived in India. Schleicher stayed on in India, got married to a local woman, and passed on his cottage and the printing press that he finally bought from Ravi Varma. He passed that on to his children. Of course, now nothing survives, and the entire area where the printing press was has passed on to private hands. So there's nothing more of the printing press. But anyway, Schleicher was very efficient, and they went into this great business of making oleographs. Later on, the superior quality of the oleographs went progressively less and less as Schleicher stopped paying attention and it passed on to other people. But here was Ravi Varma, who was able to start his oleographs. And well, let's say his desire for new things had scored once again. Next, please. Can we turn this off? There's something coming over the image. What is this?
No, ma'am, audience can see it clearly.
Oh, I can't see. What is this that has happened? Something from my side?
Could be.
Anyway, so this is a lovely oleograph. Now, all oleographs can only come into being if there is a painting. The painting is the example. A painting was given to the press. The painters at the press copied the painting onto lithostones, and in a very complex method of doing things, the oleograph came into being. So this is an oleograph of this woman lying on the beach. But you know what it's saying? There's something nostalgic about it. It's talking about Ravi Varma's great desire, which was never fulfilled in his life, to get onto a ship. Now, there were ocean liners at that time bringing the British back and forth. So they were very active at Bombay Harbor. But he could never go because of this great way the Nambudris had stopped them. But his desire to be on a ship and to cross the seas, that never got fulfilled. So here is this, there's a ship in the hazy background, and this painting, I don't know where this painting is, but we know there is a painting because there is an oleograph. So the nostalgia about crossing the seas was very strong with him. This was a desire that never got, perhaps one of the desires that never got fulfilled, to cross the seas. Next, please. So these are two other oleographs. There were two ways the kind of oleographs that Ravi Varma made were the ones on the right, without any razzle-dazzle, plain. The razzle-dazzle that you see on the left was done later by many people at an attempt to make the oleographs look like the actual paintings or make them even more glamorous. So wherever you see the bits of silver and sequins, these were not done by Ravi Varma. What Ravi Varma did were the plain ones. That's where he left it. That was done later. So these are two of the singing girls of Bombay who are dressed like this. And they always wore these big ornis. They played with them while they sang. Next, please. This is Annapurna. Now, the painting is on the left and the oleograph is on the right. The oleograph has yellowed a little bit because varnish was used on it. And it's not looking as bright as it did when you see the color of the paint. Now, what is interesting in the painting, which is on the left, it has been cleaned. The varnish has been removed. Otherwise, it would have looked like the painting, like the oleograph on the right. When the varnish was removed, I wonder whether you can see the two, the two feathered thing that go on both sides of a goddess or a god.
Fans?
No, not fans. If you can look right on both sides of the face, there is a faint hazy circular things on both sides of Annapurna's face. Yes. Can you see that?
Yes. Yes.
Now, he made it. He changed his mind. He painted over it. But after 100 years, when the paint dries, what is underneath comes out slightly. So we can see them. We know he painted them and that he changed his mind. So they are there. But when the oleograph was made, it was still fresh, the painting. So you don't see it. You don't see it. This thing is, so you don't see it. It's not there because it was still fresh. Are you getting what I'm saying? No, you're not getting what I'm saying. Can you see these two fans on both sides of Annapurna?
Yes, we saw those marks,
Yeah.
like a snake's
Yeah, yeah. Now they were painted. He changed his mind and he painted over it. So it was when the painting is still fresh, it was made into an oleograph. So it's not in the oleograph. But over 100 years, this has emerged, come out slightly because the paint is dry and the paint is thin. So it shows through. So we know it was there. But the oleograph naturally, which was made when this painting was fresh, does not show it. Uh, I think this is technical, so we'll leave this anyway. Next, please. Now here is Yashoda, Krishna and the cow. This is the painting on the left. It's a lovely painting. And on the right is the oleograph, where naturally this glitter has been put by someone later on. Next, please. What you see here on the left is the influence that Ravi Varma had on Tanjore glass paintings. So the same Yashoda, Krishna and the cow appears in a different kind of way in this Tanjore glass painting. Now, about the image on the right, let me say something. Now, had Ravi Varma been alive when the medium of cinema made its appearance, he would definitely have experimented with that as well. There's no two ways about it. But he died in 1906, and cinema came a little after that. His previous apprentice at the printing press, Dada Sahab Palke, who later on, as we know, became a renowned filmmaker, he used Ravi Varma's images for his films. Now, this is the same Yashoda Krishna theme that he used in the film that he made in 1918, Shri Krishna Janam. So he's used the same, so you can see the way this particular image has moved from various things to where it went even further. It was made into a tile, it was made into a stamp. So it went on and on and on. In Ravi Varma was not the clash, but the assimilation of past and present. He emerged from a very traditional culture and integrated into the first wave of information technology. He was not only an artist, but a person obsessed with discovery and adventure. Thank you. Now, do you want me to talk about this?
Yes.
If it's okay, I can talk about it.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay. This is the moment when it's actually very dramatic. This is the moment when Ram has asked Seetha to give another proof of her chastity. And so she is absolutely fed up. So she says, I can't do it another time. So she says, it's like a proclamation, a declaration. She says, if I am pure, Mother Goddess my earth goddess, my earth mother, take me away. If I am pure, take me away. And immediately the earth goddess rises from the earth and is taking, this is the moment when Seetha, she's embraced Seetha and is taking her into the earth. What is wonderful is the sense of movement in this part of the painting that Ravi Varma is able to create. Seetha's pallu is fluttering. Her string of pearls is moving this way. So there is the suggestion of great movement. And what is more is the tiles. Can you see the tile? There's a tile here. The tiles are being flung up. There's a tile over there. There are tiles right at the bottom. Yes, it's being flung up. The tiles are being flung up with the total energy of the earth mother coming out. So the great movement of coming up. He is able to give that effect of great movement. Now, this is what made him different from other artists. The way he was able to go into the feel of the story, the feel of the image that he had selected, of how he was going to do it, what was going to come into it. Now, Seetha's face, he's able to do remarkable things with Seetha's face. Her face is a combination of intense grief because she's leaving and anger because of what she was asked to do and she refused. So he's able to make her face in that wonderful way to show grief and anger both. It's just wonderful. Now, this side of the painting on the right, it's still, everything is still because they're all stunned. They don't know what's happening. They're not moving. They're absolutely stunned. What's happening, says Ram. His hand is going up. He's stunned. Everyone is stunned. And before they know it, Seetha is gone. So it's wonderful the way this painting is made. I've seen a copy of this painting. Now, people who copy a painting, they don't get into the mind either of Ravi Varma or into the feel of the painting. They're only copying the image. So there are many things that they miss out when they are doing it. So I just thought that since we had brought this painting into the session, if there was time, I would say a few words about it. Thank you.
Hello, ma'am. Thank you so much for this incredible session.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now I would request the audience to answer a poll. Take 30 seconds to answer this poll. And I would request our founder, Ms. Srivani Mullapudi, to come and initiate the Q&A session.
What's the poll?
It's for the audience.
Okay.
Yeah.
మాట్లాడమాకండి. Namaste. Thank you so much for coming here, Mrs. Rupika Chawla.
Thank you.
You've been very generous in making this talk.
No, not at all. It was my pleasure. Thank you.
There's so much there's a request from a lot of people for people like you to come and talk about our Indian artists. And you have done so much of research, contributed so much to Ravi Varma's paintings, their restorations, and helped many youngsters to be inspired by them and learn from them. So I will, there are a few questions.
Yes.
I'll just quickly, one or two questions, then I'll close the talk. And for those of them who want to continue, we'll continue with the questions. So one question is from Dr. Mohammad Nurul Haq. It's my question. Raja Ravi Varma is a very nice painter in the 19th century, but not count the name in Bengali school artists. Anything to say on that?
No. These are completely different. No, these are completely different, not only different in terms of geography. Ravi Varma is coming from the south, and the period is different. And the Bengal school did not believe in oil on canvas paintings. They were Ravi Varma is oil on canvas. That's a very important medium. The Bengal school were doing watercolor, tempera on paper. And it was very important for them to do watercolor, tempera, and paper, the wash technique. This was, let's say the period is 1905, 1906. The Swadeshi movement is very strong at this time. Ravi Varma dies in 1906. They used Ravi Varma as an example of someone who is anti-national, because he was using Western materials, methods, and techniques to make paintings. So he was against Swadeshi, they said. At that time, it was a very important thing. So there was, whereas Ravi Varma had met Rabindranath, Abanindranath Tagore, he had met them. He, India is so big, and even at that time, traveling by train was very difficult. Possibly one of the reasons he died so early was because this train travel took its toll on him. Now, Bengal is there, the other end of India. Kerala is the other end of India. They did meet briefly, but the whole thing is this Swadeshi movement, which tried to denounce Ravi Varma. They used him as an example of someone who was against Swadeshi, because he used methods and materials that were used by the British. And the Bengal school said, we are patriotic because we use Indian methods.
Interesting.
Yes.
Okay. The next question is from Mr. Vikas Singh. Did Anani Bai Malpekar serve as a model for some of his paintings?
You know, Anjali Bai Malpekar was a remarkable woman. She was about 16 when Ravi Varma met her. and she was 22 when he died. She had, when she was about 72, she gave an interview on Ravi Varma, and she spoke about him as if he was someone she just met yesterday. She never forgot Ravi Varma. Now, you know, no one, whether it was Anjali Bai or whether it was the other models, no one is specifically a model for a specific painting for Ravi Varma. You need a model. You need a woman, you need a man, you need a table, you need a chair, you need a dog, you need anything. When you are making academic paintings, realistic paintings, you need to look at the real thing, a table, a chair, a person, to be able to copy it into your painting. Of course, Anjali Bai and so many of the others were his models, but it's very difficult. We can only guess, but it's very difficult to say, oh, this painting is this model, this painting is this model, because he liked a type. He painted a type. He loved those thick eyebrows. He loved the soft look. He loved a face which was oval. And the expression that he got was one of both innocence and intelligence. So of course you need a model. You need a model all the time if you are making realistic paintings. And she certainly was. And for the brief time that they did meet each other for 5-6 years, she certainly played a part as a model for him, together with other models.
Okay. So I'll quickly close the session, and then for those of you who would like to continue with the question answers can please stay on. So let me first complete sharing with you the upcoming talks on International Day of Yoga. We have brought to you a session on the topic Yoga, Meditation for Clarity and Calmness, Ms. Manasa Pola. She's a pediatrician yoga instructor from Art of Living on 15 June 2024. We have another Dr. Muthu Murugan coming to discuss about acupuncture. He is from Bepak Pema Wellness, head of the acupuncture department with 2 decades of experience in acupuncture and energy healing. This is on 22nd June 2024, 11 a.m. With this, I would like to thank Ms. Rupika Chawla, the participants, because most of the participants who are coming here, because neither WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, it bans us almost every day. So we don't get to reach people. So whoever is here is mostly here through word of mouth. Thank you so much for being here. And please do share about the upcoming talks with your friends and family. Shmel, would you like to, and thank you to the Vishwa team for conducting this talk impeccably. Yeah. Shmel, yes, you can ask your talk.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. You hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. Very interesting presentation. This new subject for me. And I want to ask you what impacts of the works of Raja Varma on traditional art in India of today?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Yeah, of course. I asked you what impacts of artworks of Raja.
I'll explain to you.
Yes,
He's
yes,
asking, how is these Raja Ravi Varma going to impact the present day people? Is that the question?
yeah. a part of his works on modern, on traditional art in modern India.
Well, Ravi Varma, after this, after he was made unpopular during the Swadeshi movement, for many decades, he was a forgotten person. Then when we went into the period of contemporary art, the Bombay School, the progressives, he was completely a forgotten person, because they said that, realistic art, portrait painting, this is very old fashioned and not to be shown. No one is interested. That was the end. But in 1993, we had a revival when we did an exhibition of his paintings at the National Museum that brought it back. Now, what is happening is that he is very much in demand. People want to buy him. People are all the time looking for Ravi Varma's paintings. So he is, as a traditional academic painter, he is able to survive alongside other contemporary and postmodern art. He is able to survive because he has acquired a popularity of his own, and he is surviving despite being a portrait painter.
Who are the other contemporary painters of that time?
There were many painters at that time, but now they are slowly there are people wanting to look for other realistic or figurative, let's use the word figurative. They were wanting to look at figurative painters of that period. So especially in South India, there were a great many of those who are now in demand. There were several talented painters in the court in Travancore, in Thiruvananthapuram. They are being sought after. Ravi Varma's family members are being sought after. And there are other painters. There are some anonymous painters, we don't know who they are. They are being sought after for the quality of their painting. But what made Ravi Varma was a different phenomenon, some of the things that I've mentioned. There are other things too. The very fact that he traveled, the very fact that he made friends with known people, the very fact that he was made as an example of anti-Swadeshi. So all these points made him very well known. He was forgotten. He was called, calendar artist. He was known as calendar artist. He got many derogatory adjectives thrown at him, but now he's back. He's holding his own. So in spite of all contemporary and postmodern.
Was he wealthy and recognized while he was alive?
Very much. I showed you his obituary in the newspaper, the very fact that, and the obituary is in glowing words about what a great man he was, how gentle he was, how well-mannered he was. And so he was very well known during his lifetime, very well known.
Could you say a word or two about his biopic Rang Rasiya by Ketan Mehta?
Well, what do I say? It's I don't think I want to say, because I don't, it's not completely accurate.
Mhm. Okay. More fictional story?
Yes, it's not accurate.
Okay. One question from Mr. Vikas Singh. When did he switch to portraiture instead of landscape and other genres? Was it driven by economic conditions?
He never did landscapes. I mean, if he did a landscape, it was because he would have been in a mood. But the person who did landscapes was his brother, C. Raja Varma. He was very fond of, he was a very dreamy young man who was Ravi Varma's constant companion, who adored his brother. They adored each other, and they died within a year of each other. Um, Ravi Varma never really did landscapes. He was more interested in, well, he did portraits, he was asked, but he himself divided his paintings into three categories. He said one category, he said, was iconic. So that was the gods and goddesses. One was Puranic. So those were all the mythology paintings. And the third category he made for himself was scenes from classical Indian literature. So these, he himself made his categories as the kind that he wished to paint. And this is what he did. He either did iconic, meaning gods looking still at you, portraits, which he did because everyone wanted a portrait done by Ravi Varma, Puranic paintings, and scenes from classical Indian literature. So these were his themes.
There's another question from Mr. Suresh Valmik Garud. Origin of landscape painting in Indian context. Does it start from Ravi's initiatives towards backdrops with natural settings?
No, I don't know about that. I mean, landscape was more the influence of the British, because the British loved to do landscape paintings. They did landscape paintings. And why not? Why wouldn't Indians be doing landscape paintings also? Ravi Varma's brother, like I said, loved landscape paintings. And you will see several of those here and there. If you are to go to Sri Chitra Art Gallery in Trivandrum, you will see. But landscape paintings has no connection really with Ravi Varma.
You mentioned that he went to a particular shop in Mumbai. Can you name the shop?
Thacker's Pink
Spelling?
and Thacker. And now, of course, it's not Thacker's Pink and Company. Now it's a small little shop called Thacker's. But of course, these shops are no longer what they used to be 100 years ago.
The next question is from Ms. Kavita V. Kulkarni. Kindly elaborate on lithography and oleograph techniques.
Well, you know, it's very complicated. So first, and I don't want to bore you by going into the, but I'll just give you some idea. Here you have the original painting. It was never big. It was a small one, which was going to be the size of the oleograph. That was handed over to the painters in the press. Now, they had 16 or 17 lithostones. This was drawn on a lithostone in which were written all the colors that went into it. So there were 16, 17 colors.
Wow.
Naturally in a thing. So there was this machine, the big litho machine that he had got from Germany, and it would press down. It was the resist method. So suppose he was going to do yellow, so there was a resist method. Everything else was covered with a material. So it only took yellow, the lithostone. Then the next one only took green, the next one. So it went on and on. If you wait, I can get my book and can I show it to you like this? Will you be
Sure.
able to see it?
Please.
Give me a minute.
Yeah, yeah. While ma'am is getting the book, I would like to talk a little bit about Vishwa. Vishwa has been started for people like you and me. All of us are into our day-to-day lives from Monday to Thursday, Friday. It gives us an opportunity to explore our country, our heritage. So please do share it with your friends and family to come and join us in Vishwa Talks every Saturday at 11 o'clock. Especially children, they need this exposure. They need to know about our culture. So please ensure at least 10 of them at least come and have a look at it. Vishwa is taking a lot of pains to get all of you to experience all this.
Right.
Yeah. All the old Vishwa talks are on YouTube. There was a talk by Viren Bhagat on jewelry. You should, for those of you who are interested, should also go and see his. There's a talk by one Mr. Paul from Wheel who's talking about the South Indian indigenous trees. Please do listen to that talk. Okay, this is how.
Can you see?
Yes.
Okay, so the first one is like on one paper would be this, the yellow. Can you see everyone?
Yes, yes.
And then another one would be this. Then they would both be combined to make it this. Then this was done separate. So it went on. Can you see it? I don't know.
Yes, ma'am, we can see it.
Some idea.
Yeah.
So it was all very complicated. So it was.
When did the printing press change to 4 colors from the lithograph kind of painting?
No. It was always. This was the method this was always the method to do the lithographs, the oleographs. But in 1902, he sold his press to Slicer.
Okay. In most South Indian homes, at least, I see a Raja Ravi Varma painting sitting in the God's room. Is it the same in the north?
Yes, I think oleographs made their way everywhere.
Okay.
Everywhere. But I know that in the south, they have used Ravi Varma's gods and goddesses in the puja rooms. Yes, yes, not so much in the north, but in the south, yes. I have seen it in many homes in the south.
And what did people pray to before Raja Ravi Varma came then?
Exactly. I often wondered about that, but there were other gods and god. Yes, what would have happened before the printing press? I think there would have been just little statues and but certainly he created a revolution by making these lithographs and they these oleographs, and they spread everywhere. And that is why he gave himself a very special name all over the country.
Okay. Next question is from Mr. One more question. Is oleograph done on cloth?
No.
Okay. Next question is from Mr. Vikas Singh. The man who gave face to our gods and goddesses, what inspired him to paint gods and goddesses? A feat no painter dared or felt inspired to do before him.
As I told you, it was his background. He grew up knowing about gods and goddesses. He read about them in Sanskrit. He read about them in Malayalam. He was a religious man. He was a religious man in many ways. Every morning, he had to have his religious baths, you know. That is what is so remarkable about Ravi Varma, is that how he brings in he was religious, traditional, and then spread it. Then his temperament spread out into so many ways. He was absolutely remarkable. His gods and goddesses were very important for him. And once he started making them, then everyone wanted his gods and goddesses. So he painted them because there was such a demand from people to have them. Then, which is the reason why he went into these oleographs, because he said, I can't take this demand. So that is how these oleographs started, so that then they could be distributed all over the country and people could have their gods and goddesses. And that is what he achieved, the spreading of the images of gods and goddesses. And the whole thing is, if you look at all the gods and goddesses that he made, they are made meticulously. He does not miss a certain attribute of any god or goddess. He does it just right because he knew it. He knew every detail. He knew it. He was so learned.
Was Trivandrum very religious at that point?
Oh, yes, very traditional, very religious.
Okay. This is from Mr. Suresh Valmigarud. Does adaptation for photograph and oleograph have any relationship with the backdrop landscape with chromatic hues rather than figurative, as portraits and it ends in limited palettes?
I haven't understood the question, sorry.
Neither have I. Mr. Suresh, could you come online and explain if possible? By then we'll go to the next question. Parth Tiwari. Question. I have recently read your book, ma'am, and found it to be truly eye-opening. In one of the chapters, you mentioned the influence of Atakatha in his paintings, Kirmira Vadam, Kichaka Vadam series. I was amazed when I saw the striking resemblance of expression and body language between his paintings and those of Kathakali performances. I was curious to know how you connected his tangible artwork to the intangible art of Kathakali. Did you attend those 3-hour Kathakali performances to make that connection?
This is all part of research. When you start something, you have to get to the bottom of it. When I saw that particular painting, the one he's talking about, you see, let me show the painting he's talking about. Now, in that, how do I explain the painting? It's a then let's just say that it wasn't making sense to me. He is known for making beautiful women, but those two women are not beautiful. One is positively manly, and the other one has so much makeup on her face that it's not like his normal type. So you probe, you try to see where. Now, this, I'll have to show it, otherwise it won't make sense to the others. That's all. This is all part of research, you know. It's going to take me time to find. I'm sorry, it's taking me a little while. 8, 8, 8, 8.
So you've got a lot of acknowledgements. One is Mrs. Kavita Kulkarni said, got best information from you. Miss Mansi.
Let's just say that, you know, in Trivandrum, in the Sri Chitra Art Gallery in Trivandrum, they have written as the title of the painting, Draupadi and Simika. Now, that's okay. Now, who, I said, is Simika? Who's Simika? I looked in the references in the Mahabharata and the Ramayana. No Simika, no Simika. So then I said, let me see. Then I remember I had watched in Delhi many years ago, Kichakvadham. And I have been very often to Kerala. I have watched Kathakali. So it took me into the other thing, and I was able to connect with the Arthakatha. So when you research, you have to do these things. And in the Mysore Palace is hanging a painting of two women in the forest. And it is titled Sudeshna and Draupadi. But I said, that's wrong. Sudeshna and Draupadi were never in the forest. Sudeshna was talking to Draupadi inside the palace, not in the forest. So that is labeled wrong. It's actually Simika. And so you have to, and you knew that Ravi Varma was getting his sources from everywhere, and why not Kathakali? It was his own Kathakali. He saw it all the time, and he knew it. And that painting with that woman who looks like a man, you know, with big hands and big feet. She wasn't a woman, and he's known for making lovely women. So that is what starts the, you know, the research.
In the Mysore Palace, the paintings of the goddesses are absolutely stunning. Are they also by Raja Ravi Varma?
It depends on which ones you're talking about. I don't know which ones you're referring to.
In the palace,
but,
right?
But the paintings he made in Mysore were made towards the end of his life. And for me, the Mysore paintings that Ravi Varma did are the most beautiful and the best that he's ever done.
Can you talk a little bit about Raja Deen Dayal and Ravi Varma?
Well, you know, they were friends. They were both very fond of miniatures. So Deen Dayal said, why don't you come to Hyderabad? And I'll show you around. I'll show you the wonderful miniature collection that the Nizam has. And if it's possible, I'll introduce you to the Nizam. And if the Nizam wants to give you a commission, it'll be very nice for you. So Ravi Varma is very happy, and he and his brother go to Hyderabad. Now what happens is that it was very badly timed. I mean, Ravi Varma didn't know, Deen Dayal didn't know that it was a very badly timed visit. Why? Because this was exactly the moment that Lord Curzon was visiting Hyderabad. And this is the time when there was much turmoil because the Nizam did not want his brother-in-law, who was favorable with the British, to be there. So there are rumors that it was during this time, that it was during this time that the Nizam had his brother-in-law murdered so that he would not meet Lord Curzon, and that Lord Curzon would not ask the brother-in-law to take over instead of the Nizam, who did not like Lord Curzon. Now all this is going on, and poor Deen Dayal is trying to get an appointment for Ravi Varma with the Nizam. Now, he is not to know that there is so much happening in the background, you know. This intrigue is going on. And every time he tried to arrange a meeting for Ravi Varma, it wasn't successful. Finally, a time came when Ravi Varma said, you don't want me to meet the Nizam. Yes. You are jealous, that kind of thing. So, well, they had a misunderstanding and they were not friends after that.
I heard that.
but Deen Dayal was in a very favored position because as early as 1903, a special line was laid to his house with a thing called a telephone. No one else had it, but Deen Dayal did.
Interesting. I'll quickly go through a few of the names who've been acknowledging Ms. Kavita Kulkarni, Mansi Anuj Chandiwal, Dr. Partha Pratim, Malti Mehta, Manisha Varma, Surendra Arya, Nitya Acharya, Ms. Kala Ramnathan says she's in awe of your talk. Mansi Anuj Chandiwala, Ishika, Beva Prasad. There are too many. I'll just leave it at this.
Thank you. Good.
Next question is from Sumesh KS. Please talk about the painting Galaxy of Musicians.
You know, this is the time when, well, you know, this anti-colonial feeling was rising. It was very much there. It was happening. And he was very aware, and there were many things he did to think of the anti-colonial, you know, to the independence of India was becoming a very important issue at that time. How was he to express it? He was friendly with many of the politicians, you know, Tilak and Gokhale and several, Gokhale, especially Gokhale. He was very friendly. And at that time he started, also he did paintings of Shivaji and, you know, that patriotic feeling. There were two paintings he did which were of special note. One is the Galaxy of Musician, as you say, in which he brings together, through the clothes and the makeup worn by all the women, the different women of the country, as showing the togetherness of all parts of the country. At that time, there were all different regions and states, and people were all different, wearing their own clothes. So in this painting, he has brought everyone together into a unity. And that was the Galaxy of Women. Sometimes it's called Galaxy of Musician, but that doesn't matter. He's bringing in nationalism. His message in this painting is nationalism. And that is very wonderful. Another painting that you would perhaps have seen is the painting he has done of Lakshmi standing on a lotus, which he did for Baroda. She's standing. There are not too many paintings of a standing Lakshmi. Normally, you know, she's seated, but this is a standing one. Now, he had been commissioned to make Lakshmi. He would have thought, what kind of a sari do I make Lakshmi wear? I can't make her wear the 9-yarder that they wear in Baroda. I can't. She's not the Baroda state's Lakshmi. I can't make her wear the Tamilian 9-yarder again. I can't make her wear the Bengali one. I can't make her wear the Malayali sari. I can't make her, because she doesn't belong to any region. She belongs to the entire country. Lakshmi is for the entire country. So what do I make her wear? I can't give the wrong message. She is everyone's Lakshmi. She is not one state's Lakshmi. So this is the time when the sari, the way we wear it today, had only just started making an appearance in a tentative way. It was being worn in a certain kind of way by the Tagore family women, and the Suniti Rani of Cooch Behar, who was the godchild of Queen Victoria, used to wear a gown and then wear a veil, an odhni on the left shoulder to sort of combine the two things. So there were tentative beginnings of the sari. And in this, standing Lakshmi is wearing the sari. This is everyone's and no one's. It's no state's. The sari, the way it is, belongs to everyone. So again, he was bringing the entire country together.
Was it Indira Rani of Cooch Behar who bought this style out? In which year was
No,
this?
Suniti Devi.
Suniti.
Suniti was her mother-in-law.
Oh.
I mean, she was a modern kind of woman, very modern. Indira Rani was very modern.
Suniti Rani was the mother-in-law of Indira Devi.
Yes,
And she
yes.
got in this way of tying.
She used to wear the gown
Okay.
because she was Queen Victoria's godchild.
Okay.
And then she used to wear this on top for modesty or for combining the two
Okay.
fashions together.
Okay. So until then, the sari didn't have an underskirt.
Yes.
Okay.
But it was coming out. Well, where in the Nowari sari do you wear an underskirt there in the Nowari sari?
No, not
No,
on
there
the
you
night.
there you are. There you are.
Yeah. Okay. Another question from Kala Sampada. Could you please throw some light on how to differentiate between fakes and the original Raja Ravi Varma?
That's a very difficult thing. You have to see a lot of Ravi Varmas to know. But the basic thing is you have to try to catch a mistake, because you see, when someone makes a fake, they're copying the image that they are seeing, that they are copying, and somewhere they do something which is their own. You can't help it. You can't keep on copying. Somewhere you do something that is your own. I mean, let me give you another example. You start copying a paragraph, write it down, copy it. You look at something you're reading and copy it on a piece of paper. You'll realize you made one or two mistakes, even when you are looking at that text that you are copying. You made a mistake somewhere. So even when you are looking at a painting you are copying, you are going to do something that you do, not what the artist does, that you do. Or you say, oh, I don't need to do this, let me do this somewhere. And this is where we catch it. We try to catch the discrepancies. We try to catch the, we try to, because when you are looking at a painting, you try to think, would Ravi Varma have done it? Would Ravi Varma have done it? You have to see a lot of paintings to be able to, it can't be in a single lesson.
Yeah, I understand. When did the blouse come to the sari? Because I see all his paintings, most of his paintings have blouses.
Yes, that is when stitched costumes came about, you know. As I showed you his photograph of when, you know, what he's wearing at home, and then stitched costumes had started a long time before that, and so did the blouses.
Okay, next question from Mr. Rabindra Kumar Maharana. Nice session. What is the relationship between traditional painting and contemporary paintings?
Oh, no, this is an entire, no, how can I talk about traditional and contemporary? This is a lot. How can one talk about this? It's a very big question. Traditional are traditional, and I can just tell you one small thing. Traditional paintings, like the way Ravi Varma did, they are realistic paintings, figurative paintings. We spoke about models earlier on. You need a model, you need to look at something that already exists and you copy it. And you bring it into your painting. And you make it look exactly as much as your talent allows you. You make it look like what you have, which means you have to be very good in drawing. Very, very good in drawing. And that is something that is also shared with contemporary painters. You have to be very good in drawing. Now, a traditional painter copies, a traditional painter is copying what exists. And therefore, his talent depends on his ability to do that well. But a contemporary painter goes in another way, uses his mind, goes into a theme, you has to be good in drawing. I feel that no matter what you do, you have to be good at drawing. But uses his mind, goes into a theme, talks about the world, whatever is happening, goes into abstraction. So it's very different. Another small thing, if I might say, is traditional paintings were always varnished. Contemporary and modern paintings now, I mean modern contemporary paintings now, they are not varnished. They are never varnished.
Is it because they failed?
No, traditional paintings were varnished at a time because the early traditional paintings of Europe were, the colors were not very bright colors, so they used to varnish it. So that went on, the trend went on to varnish paintings. But now no one varnishes paintings.
Okay.
No one varnishes paintings. So there are many things.
Okay. The many acknowledgements that you've received, I'll just talk about one from Miss Gitanjali Maini. She says, Mrs. Chawla, this was a fantastic session. I enjoyed it. I'm Gitanjali Maini, managing trustee, Raja Ravi Varma Heritage Foundation.
Thank you. Yes, of course. Yes. She's doing great work. Yes. She's doing great work.
Another question. After Ravi Varma, from Sashi Ranjan Prakash, after Ravi Varma, which Indian painters did most work on Indian mythology?
Well, you know, after Ravi Varma, it became a trend everywhere. At that time, there were many artists who were doing mythology. And don't forget, earlier on, in Bengal, especially if you look at it, the early Bengal paintings that there are, they are wonderful, the early Bengal paintings. They are all mythology. They are all mythology. And the reason they have not come into prominence is because their artists are not known. They were anonymous artists at that time. But there is a huge period. Again, it's turn of the 19th into the 20th century, going on into, let's say, the 1930s and 40s, that these early Bengal painters made mythology a huge amount. And the Bengal school also made it, but not strictly. I'm talking about the early Bengal painters. And everywhere, everywhere, mythology is everywhere. Mythology is in every part of the world, of the country.
Next question from Mr. Amar Reddy. Is there any information on the artist who etched his paintings on marble stone to be used for lithography?
Yes, as I told you, Dadabhai Phalke was one of them who did it. There was a German called Gerhardt. So there were several very good artists who would do the drawing and the etching at that time.
Another question from Miss Francie Violet. I'm an artist and educator. What was the preservation techniques used in Ravi Varma's oil paintings? Are they similar as the varnishes available today? Or is there any other preservation technique for the art to withstand climatic changes?
I don't know. It's not a preservation technique that is important. It is the technique of painting that is more important. There is no preservation technique. People think that varnish is a preservation technique. Well, maybe it keeps the dust away from the actual painting, but it is the technique of painting, the way you make the painting, that is more important. And Ravi Varma's technique was very good. Even after all these many decades that his paintings were thrown, flung here and there, put under staircases, inside the storage or wherever, his paintings didn't suffer as much as someone who did not have a good technique would have suffered. Of course, there are many paintings that acquired holes and tears, but apart from that, his technique was very good. It's the technique.
Did Ravi Varma also do paint portraits for the British?
Yes, he did. He did some of them. Certainly he did. If he was asked to, he did. You will find several here and there. There's one hanging in Ooty. There are one or two in a private collection. And interestingly enough, there is one which I am restoring at the moment in my studio of the British. He did do the British.
Who was Mr. Madhav Rao? You said Lord Curzon wanted a painting of his.
I mentioned Madhav Rao. He was one of the most influential people of India at that time. He was first Diwan of Travancore, and then he became, he went to Baroda. He was an IA, he was one of the early, officers educated and appointed by the British. And he was a very influential person in South India at that time.
A question from Ms. Kala Sampada. Does traditional paintings from schools of Bengal are they also varnished?
No, you don't varnish or works on paper.
Okay.
So the Bengal school paintings are wash and tempera paintings on paper. You don't varnish them. You don't varnish paper.
This is just a statement made by Nandini Banik. We can see lots of mythological paintings in Patachitte in the region of Bengal, Odisha.
Yes, of course. Absolutely. Yes.
Too many acknowledgements. One is from Lalita Gupta. I'm lucky to hear on my favorite Raja Ravi Varma. Thanks a lot. I mean, there are too many. I'm not going to cover all of them. Suraksha Power, Pradnya Mukherjee has a question. Will you please say something about Ravana's character in Seetha Haran, Jatayuvad painting?
He now every detail, as I said, Ravi Varma took care of every detail. Skin color. Let's go to skin color. He used skin, the fair and the dark skin color. Very much, very much is literally a translation of what is done in Kathakali, the Pacha characters being fair. So you can translate the Pacha characters as being the fair-skinned ones. So, and Ravan is dark-skinned. Even though he's noble and well-educated and has many qualities, but he's still dark. And the reason is the curse, not the curse, when I don't remember now the name, Ravan's father is meditating when he is being seduced at dusk time by this Rakshasni. She tries to seduce him. It is dusk. And he says, and she says, I want a child by you. And he says, okay, I'll give you a child. He will have all my qualities of knowledge. But because it is dusk that it is happening, he will be dark-skinned. Now, this is something that plays a part in Ravan in Ravi Varma's paintings being dark-skinned. Of course, he's also dark-skinned because he's evil, but the two things come together, that he was, the father cursed this Rakshasni. In this painting, when Ravi Varma was making this painting, when he was thinking of making this painting, he was in Kilimanur. And he was thinking about it, and he said that I need some models. I need a model for Ravan, and I need a model for Seetha. So some of you people come out, let me have a look at. Of course, by now everyone is interested in what Ravi Varma is doing, so they all come out. Now there was a tall, dark relative in Kilimanur. He says, you come out. Now you're going to be my Ravan, my model for Ravan. Now who do I take for Seetha? Seetha at this time is a very young girl. So he picks on a 13-year-old sweet girl, one of the children at that time, who later on became a very important person in the royal family. But he says, you come out and you're going to be my Seetha. So when she came and stood near him, all her friends, the way children do, all of them started to snigger and giggle and look at her and point their fingers at her. And so she became very shy, and she immediately did that to her face. And he said, that's the expression I want from Seetha, that. And that's the expression he used in the painting.
Beautiful. So well explained by you. Very inspiring. Another small question by Anita Salim. Which Western painter influenced Ravi Varma?
You know, there are meant to be many, and it's not something that interested me very much. So I have never done too much of a research on this, but I do know that he was aware of many of these painters. Like there is the painting I showed you earlier, that woman who's reading the book. I showed a painting of a woman reading the book earlier on.
A letter?
No, the book.
Okay.
Woman who's reading the book. You can go and we can go back to it if someone can do it. The Impressionists, one of them, Monet, had done a painting of Olympia, who's a woman lying straight up like that. And her maid is bringing her a bouquet of flowers. Here. So in Monet's painting, the woman is lying straight up, and the maid is bringing a bouquet of flowers. Now, the structure of this painting is exactly like that. The only difference is that that's an impressionistic painting. And this is not, his style is not impressionistic, it's smooth. but the structure is the same. The bed, the maid. Over there, the maid is bringing a bouquet of flowers here. She's fanning it. So the structure is the same. So in this way, if we were to, this is a study on its own, how he would have been influenced by, because he constantly looked at picture books. He was always looking at picture books. I mean, he didn't stop his education only with Indian mythology. He went on to looking at what Western painters were also doing.
Yeah, another question from Mr. Dharmender H.S. Raghu. Do you think Raja Ravi Varma is the father of modern Indian art?
Well, yes, certainly, I guess now he has gained his place here. During his lifetime, he was very popular. He was in great demand, which is the reason why he wanted to make oleographs, because he couldn't manage painting. So if you wish to say his father, you can say father. It's okay.
Okay. Could you suggest, this is from Christy Laura, could you suggest truly helpful books for oil paintings from your experience, ma'am?
Oh, I'm sure you find them in bookshops. The bookshops have these paintings. There are so many. There is a book written by Laurie. There are many books on how to paint. There are several books like this, how to paint with oils. There are many books like that. You can.
Okay, ma'am. Long question answer session. Thank you so much for patiently answering every
No, it's fine.
so much of passion and enjoying. And both the audience and you were totally immersed in Raja Ravi Varma. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And one last, some of the participants were asking, they wanted more such topics, and I wanted to share with you all. Mrs. Rupika has also done a lot of research on the Ajanta Ellora paintings. Maybe in a couple of months, we'll come up with a talk on that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thanks to the participants, and thanks to Radhika and her team in Vishwa. Thank you so much.
Thank you.